shall be said at last. Hooks have been baited with morsels of the past. Wantonness is weakness. As for the king, his hardened hatred shall have no end. You know truly, the king will never trust twice. The man has been his friend. Borrow, use cautiously. Employ your services as long as you have to lend. You would wait for a trap to snap, having served your turn. Broken and crushed, as forbearance, envy of lesser men. Is still more stubborn than the king's anger. Kings have public policy, barons private property. Jealousy raising possession of the feet. Barons are employable against each other, greater enemies are still destroyed.
What did you
I'm sorry, before you go on, notice that he actually speaks of the three previous temptations. He says wantonness is weakness. Well, that's pleasure. So he's saying they've tried to tempt you with pleasure, and then they tried to tempt you with power, and then they tried to tempt you with rebellion or patriotism. And so he's actually agreeing with Thomas that these three temptations were wrong. So I wonder what this guy is. We don't know yet. Wonder what he's going to tempt him with. We'll find out. Now go ahead.
What is your counsel?
Bear forward to the end. All other ways are close to you, except the way already chosen. But what is pleasure? Kingly rule, or rule of men beneath the king, with craft and corners, stealthy stradsmen, to general grasp of spiritual power. Man oppressed by sin, since Adam fell, you hold the keys of heaven and hell. Power to bind and loose. Bind Thomas, bind king and bishop under your heel. King, emperor, bishop, baron, king. Uncertain mastery of melting armies, war, plague, and revolution. New conspiracies, broken pact to be master or servant within an hour. This is the course of temporal power. The old king shall know when it at its last breath, no sons, no emperor, he bites brokens. You hold the scheme. Win, Thomas, win. The thread of eternal life and death. You hold this power, hold it.
So he's really vague here. What does he mean? You have eternal power, and when the W-I-N-D probably is wind, so he's kind of wind or bind, use this power. Thomas doesn't yet know what he's talking about. So Thomas.
Supreme in this land?
Supreme for one.
But for one.
Supreme but.
Except for one.
That I do not understand.
Is it not? It is not for me to tell you how this may be so. I am only here, Thomas, to tell you what you know.
How long shall this be?
Say what you know already, ask nothing of me. Then thank Thomas or thank glory of after death. Sorry.
Did you hear what he just said? He's thinking, think of glory after death. I wonder what he's getting at. Keep going.
When king is dead, there's another king, and one more king is another reign. King is forgotten when another shall come. Saint and martyr will rule from the throne. To think, Thomas, think of enemies dismayed, creeping in penance, frightened of shade. Think of pilgrims standing in line before the glittering jewel shrine. From generation to generation, bending the knee in supplication. Think of the miracles by God's grace, and think of your enemies of him. Another place.
I have thought of these things.
Okay, pause. What is he talking about now? It's becoming a little more clear. He says, the last thing he said was, think of glory after death. How could you have glory after you're dead?
Your legacy?
Okay, what is that legacy? Look what he says to him. He says, think of pilgrims standing in line before the glittering jewel shrine from generation to generation, bending the knee in supplication. Think of the miracles by God's grace, and think of your enemies in another place. What happens? We already know the answer to this. What happens to Thomas after he dies?
His legs.
He becomes a saint. And what do people do?
They make a pilgrimage to Canterbury.
They go to a pilgrimage and they bow down. And, I don't understand it, but they're not really worshiping Thomas. You don't bow down to anybody but God. But it's through Thomas that many people would receive miracles because he's a saint, the church believed that, saints and places where saints were like special. You could go there and maybe be healed. That line is actually in the Canterbury Tales prelude that you're going to memorize. There's a line that said, I don't think I can pick it up at the right spot, but he says at the end of the prologue something like, you're going to go to Canterbury where pilgrims go to be healed by the saints. That's not what it says, that's what it means. And so, what do you think this temptation is? To think about when you die and you become a saint. Who do they make saints of? What do you have to do to become a saint?
Hatred?
Like legacy?
Yeah, what has to happen before, you have to die, and you have to be killed for your faith. It's dying, everybody's gonna die. But you have to be a martyr. And so this is the fourth temptation. Thomas is gonna die, but how is he gonna die? What's his attitude before he dies? Is it, I want to be a martyr and I want to be glorified when I die? Or do I just let it go and see what happens?
It was, yeah.
So this is the temptation, his attitude before they kill him. They're gonna kill him unless he fights back, and
What would be the word that starts with P? That would
Pride?
it would be pride. Yeah. That's the fourth temptation, and the biggest temptation is he proud of the fact, I'm going to be a martyr. I'm going to be a special person. It sounds weird, but everybody does it. We can't help it, and it even sounds terrible to articulate it, but everybody can imagine, particularly if your family doesn't appreciate you and your friends, how would they like it if I died? I could just picture my funeral, and everybody's really sad, and all my enemies will be sad, and they'll be sad everybody at some point in their lives imagines that scenario. And you feel real sorry for yourself, and you imagine, man, they'll appreciate me when I'm gone. Things like that, that's pride. And that's what Thomas especially is facing. So let's go back to, Thomas just said, I have thought of these things. So Thomas, keep reading.
That is why I tell you, your thoughts have more power than keys to compel you. You have also thought sometimes at your prayers, sometimes hesitating at the angles of stairs, and between sleep and waking early in the morning, when the birds cry, have thought of further scorn, that nothing lasts but the wheel turns, the nest is right, and the bird mourns, that the shrine shall be pillaged, and the gold spent, the jewels gone from the light lady. Ornament, the sanctuary broken and its stores, swept into the lap of parasites and whores, when miracles cease, and the faithful desert you. And men shall only do their best to forget you. And later is worse, when men will not hate you enough to defame or to excrete you, but pondering the qualities that you lack, will only try to find the historical fact. When men shall declare that there was no mystery about this man who played a certain part in history.
But what is there to do? What is left to be done? Is there no enduring crown to be won?
Yes, Thomas, yes. You have thought of that too. What can compare with the glory of saints dwelling forever in presence of God? What earthly glory of king or emperor? What earthly pride that is not poverty? Compared with the richness of heavenly grandeur, seek the way of martyrdom. Make yourself the lowest on earth, to be high in heaven and see far off below you where the gulf is fixed. Your persecutor in timeless torment, heart's passion beyond expectation.
No. Who are you? Tempting with my own desire. Others have come, temporal temper, with pleasure and power at palpable price. But what do you offer? What do you ask?
I offer what you desire. I ask what you have to give. Is it too much for such a vision of eternal grandeur?
Others offered real goods, worthless but real. You only offer dreams to damnation.
You have often dreamt them.
Is there no way in my soul's sickness does not lead to damnation and pride? I know well that I well know that these temptations meet present vanity and future torment. Can sinful pride be driven out? Only by more sinful. Can I neither act nor suffer without
Perdition.
perdition?
You know and do not know what it is to act or suffer. You know and do not know that action is suffering, and suffering action. Neither does the aiding suffer nor the patient act, but both are fixed. An eternal action and eternal patience, to which all must consent, that it may be willed, and which all must suffer, and that they may will it. That the pattern may subsist, that the wheel may turn and still be forever still.
There is no rest in the house, there is no rest in the street. I hear restless movement of feet, and the air is heavy and thick. Thick and heavy the sky, and the earth presses up against our feet. What is the sickly smell, the vapor? The dark green light from a cloud on a withered tree. The earth is heaving to partition, and of issue of hell. What is the sticky dew that forms on the back of my hand?
I would ask Campbell, she was the first temptation, right? I'm gonna just get her to read for the 4, and then who are the 3 priests?
I was first.
I was second.
Okay,
And I think I was
Third.
okay. So one of you can read for the priests.
If you all read this.
All right, how about that? All right, so here are the tempters. Imagine Campbell sort of speaking for all 4 of the tempters.
Man's life is a cheat and a disappointment. All things are unreal or disappointing. The Catherine wheel, the pantomime cat, the prizes given at the children's party, the prize awarded for the English essay, the scholar's degree, the statesman decoration. All things become less real. Man passes from unreality to unreality. This man is obstinate, blind, intent on self-destruction, passing from deception to deception, from grandeur to grandeur, to final illusion, lost in the wonder of his own greatness, the enemy of society, enemy of himself.
O Thomas, my Lord, do not fight the intractable tide, do not sail the irresistible wind. In the storm, should we not wait for the sea to subside, and the night abide the coming of day, when the traveler may find his way, the sailor lay course by the sun?
Okay.
What's the Catherine wheel?
Good question. I'll find that. I think I know, but don't know well enough to explain it, so I will look that up. I need the chorus, all right? You're gonna be C, the priest, you're gonna be P, and the tempter, you're gonna be T. So the 3 of you will read each of these, and then we'll come back to the chorus. We'll read her section.
Okay. Is it the owl that calls, or a signal between the trees?
Is the window barred made fast? Is the door under lock and bolt?
Is it rain that taps at the window? Is it wind that pokes at the door?
Does the torch flame in the hall, the candle in the room?
Does the watchman walk by the wall?
Does the mastiff prowl by the gate?
Death has 100 hands and walks by 1,000 ways.
He may come in the sight of all, he may pass unseen, unheard.
Some whispering through the ear, or a sudden shock on the skull.
A man may walk with a lamp at night and yet be drowned in a ditch.
A man may climb the stair in the day and slip on a broken step.
A man may sit at meat and feel the cold in his groin.
We have not been happy, my Lord, and we have not been too happy. We are not ignorant women. We know what we must expect and not expect. We know of oppression and torture. We know of extortion and violence, destitution, disease, the old without fire in winter, the child without milk in summer. Our labor taken away from us, our sins made heavier upon us. We have seen a young man mutilated, the girl trembling by the millstream, and meanwhile we have gone on living and partly living, picking together the pieces, gathering faggots at nightfall, building a partial shelter for sleeping, and eating and drinking and laughter. God gave us always some reason, some hope, but now a new terror has spoiled us, which none can avoid, falling under our feet and over the sky, under doors and down chimneys, falling in at the ear and
Stifling.
Stifling scent of despair. The forms take shape in the dark air, whisper of leopard, football of padding bear, palm pat of nodding ape, square hyena wait. For laughter, 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 the lords of hell are here. They curl around you, light your feet, swing and wing through the dark air. O Thomas Archbishop, save us, save yourself, that we may be saved. Destroy yourself, and we are destroyed.
Do you want me to read this, or are we gonna go over questions?
Let's go ahead and finish it. Let's
Okay.
finish it.
Now is my way clear, now is the meaning plain. Completion should not come in this kind again. The last temptation is the greatest treason. To do the right deed for the wrong reason.
Okay, pause. I want you to circle or underline those two lines. The last temptation is the greatest treason, to do the right deed for the wrong reason. That's his understanding of do you understand what he's saying?
Yeah.
The last temptation.
That's like sometimes it's
What's
like a
treason?
good deed, but if the way you do it is wrong, then it just doesn't make it good.
Right.
Or your motive behind it.
That's right. That to do the right thing for the wrong reason.
Like
Remember,
being a martyr is good, dying for your faith, but if you're like prideful and like you want like to other people to see you as like someone like above them, that's like sin and it's not good.
well, you explained that very well. If I could get that kind of answer from all of you on the test, that would be great. That's a really good answer. So I hope you heard that. I got it on tape
Yes,
here.
it's kinda like doing the right thing for the wrong reason.
The
Something like
motives
that.
have the motives. It's the motives that have to be aligned with the purpose, yeah.
Neil, you asked what treason was?
Yeah.
Okay, treason is basically when you have like a government or something, you betray it. So like, what the Baron was saying, that was treason by overthrowing the king. That is a form of treason. It's not.
Okay.
All right, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but we got that straight. Let's keep going.
The natural legal order
Bigger.
in the venal sin is the way in which our life began. 30 years ago, I searched all the ways that lead to pleasure, advancement, and praise.
Okay, underline pleasure. He's gonna kind of review the things of his life and maybe even the temptation, so.
Pleasure.
Keep going.
Go? Okay. Delight in sense and learning and in thought. Music and philosophy, curiosity. The purple bullfinch in the lilac tree. The tiltyard skill, the strategy of chess. Love in the garden, singing to the instrument. For all things equally desirable. Ambition comes when early force is spent, and when we find no longer all things possible. Ambition comes behind and unobservable. Sin grows with doing good. When I imposed to king's law in England and waged war with him against Toulouse,
Toulouse.
I beat the barons at their own gate. I could then despise the men who thought me most contemptible, the raw nobility whose manners matched their fingernails. While I ate out of the king's dish to become servant of God was never my wish. Servant of God has chance of greater sin and sorrow than the man who serves the king. For those who serve the greater cause may make the cause serve them. Still doing right, and striving with political men may make them that cause political, not by what they do, but by what they are. I know what yet remains to show you of my history will seem to most of you at best
Futility.
senseless self-slaughter of a lunatic, arrogant passion of a fanatic. I know that history at all times draws the strangest consequence from a remote cause, but for every evil, every sacrilege, crime, wrong, oppression, and the abstract, indifference, exploitation, you, and you must all be punished. So must you. I shall no longer act or suffer to the sword's end. Now, my good angel, whom God appoints to be my guardian, hover over the sword's point.
All right, very good. Let's take a look at the questions, starting with number 17. We may have answered some of these already, but let's follow through. What is the fourth tempter trying to get Thomas to do? Do we understand? Yes, Lena.
The fourth temptation is trying to get
And, can we, Celeste, would you explain it like you did a minute ago? Let me get it again. What is the sin behind the dying as a martyr?
Because, like, if, say, Thomas had the intention to die as a martyr so that he could be elevated after death, like, and that people would see him as higher than them, then that's not, that's sin because it's prideful, and martyrs have to die for their sin, for their faith, not because they want people to look at them and be like, wow, they're so great because they died for their faith.
Again, you explained that very well. I hope you understood that. That's really, really good. Does it not make you pause that even the good things that you do might not be so good because you're doing them for the wrong reason?
Right.
So that God's standard is so high, none of us can match it or meet it. That's why we have to have, Jesus to help us. But that's a high standard. That's why unbelievers who do good, that's to be commendable and applauded. But what is their motive for doing good? The ultimate motive is doing good because you love God and you're obeying God. And if you don't know God, then the motive that you're doing the good, it still could be considered a good act, but you don't get the credit for it in a way because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. On page 40, why does the fourth tempter echo Tom? We skipped this because it's a little bit confusing, but look at page 40, where the tempter speaks. So can you turn back there? The first two lines of the tempter at the bottom of the page. You know and do not know what it is to act or suffer. You know and do not know that action is suffering and suffering action. Underline that. It's on page 40, the tempter, the bottom of the page, the first two lines. You know and do not know what it is to act or suffer. You know and do not know that action is suffering and suffering action. All right, now turn back to page 20. While you keep your place on page 40, turn back to page 20. Let me see if I can find it. Is it on page 20?
Oh, I found it.
Where
It's
is
on
it?
page 21.
Thank you. It's not
They
page
know and do not know what is to act or suffer. They know and do not know that action is suffering, and suffering is action.
the exact same word. So it's not page 20. I'm glad you found that. It's page 21. So I need to correct that. Now the question is, what does it mean? It's the same words. When somebody uses, the answer to the question, it says, why does the fourth attempt to echo Thomas's words? If someone repeats your words to you after you said it, what might be the purpose of their doing it?
Trying to like get more people to hear.
Trying to like to make you sound like you agree with them, kind of like using your words
Against you.
against you.
Has anybody ever used your words against you? Like you said something yesterday and then all of a sudden the situation is reversed and somebody said, but yesterday you said, and then you realize, yeah, I did, didn't I? Now I'm doing the very same thing that's, if you can express it, that's what the tempter's doing. He's using Thomas's own words against him. What does it mean? I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but they do not know what it is to act or suffer. They do not know that action is suffering and suffering is action. This is a little, I had to look it up last year and think through it. Have any idea what he means by that? Yes.
I think it might mean that, no matter what he does, he's not gonna like the outcome. So he wants,
That's a good
he
answer.
doesn't want to die, but if he acts, and he's going to die. But if he doesn't act, then more people will suffer as a result of that.
Again, let me explain this. The word suffer that the little kids would come to me. That's what Jesus said. It can be.
Just a quick announcement, Rhetoric Teachers Forum, Chapel is in the forum this morning. Thank you.
Suffering can mean let. So let me write this down. I'll try to explain. If you act,
Is it number 19?
yeah, we're still on 19. If you, no, this is number 18.
Okay.
If it says action is suffering, suffering is action. If you act And if you don't act, not acting is an action. Let's look at it. How is not acting an action?
Oh yeah, it's also like how people say like saying nothing at all can mean like so much.
That's right. If you see a crime and don't call the police, if you see somebody in need and don't do anything. So not doing something is not an option. Because by not doing something, you're actually doing something. You're letting something happen. So, maybe it's the right thing sometimes, maybe it's not. But it still is an action. Not doing something is the same as doing something. You get that? All right, so we need to wrap this up.
19.
That was number 18. 19, how to court tempted cat. It's a mess. Number 19, they use images of death, violence, and injustice. Just trust me on that. The four tempters talk about death, violence, and injustice. And then number 20, I shall no longer act or suffer to the sword's end. In other words, what do you think that means? Celeste, you've been on a roll today. I will no longer act or suffer to the sword's end.
Oh, I will no longer wait to die, kind of.
And I won't desire to die.
Like if he dies, he'll die because it's his time and God decided that he would die.
That's exactly right. Because it's his time, he won't desire to do it. He's not going to live to die. He's going to live and let death come when it
He
comes.
does die.
Right. Very good. Very good. That's really not.
See, you don't know.